So today we're going to take this mid-century dresser and we're going to give it a new look. We're going to clean it real quick with some Cred Cutter. It's just been in the shop. I did some work to the veneer and then I stopped, so it's just been sitting here waiting. So we'll give it a good cleaning. Then I'm going to go back in and actually sand it. The purpose of this sanding is more to rough up the finish. I just want something for my paint to have a little grit to stick to because it was really a shiny, slick finish. So just making sure that it is sanded everywhere so that the paint does stick. After we sand it again, then I go back in with some Cred Cutter and I clean it again really well. I just want to get rid of any of the sanding dust. The paint that I'm using requires very little prep work, but no matter what kind of paint you're using, remember that your paint job is only going to be as good as the surface to which you're applying. So cleaning these off really well, and then I'm going to use some Rustoleum chalked in the linen white. Normally I would pour this out into a separate container because I don't like to contaminate my big container with all of the little particles, but I was in a hurry and didn't have anything out there with me, so here we go. Using this big round paint pixie brush, it holds the paint so well, makes it nice because you can actually get full coverage with fewer strokes because it gives you all that paint and all that surface to be able to apply the paint. So what I'm going to do is just give this whole dresser a one coat for kind of a primer here in this linen white. You can see the sneak peek there of my daughter. She's taking some used chicken waters from our chicken coop and turning them into bird houses. So it's wonderful having a crafting family, and I love when she works out in the shop with me. So again, and there you can see another cameo by my kids and see them roll away. But again, I just painted the entire thing with one coat. My method is sort of just slap the paint on there and then go back and smooth it out and make long strokes to even out my paint there. I took the drawers out. There's only the one section there kind of in the middle that you can see, but I did go ahead and take the drawers out and paint them separately. And now I'm just painting the little peg legs that are here. That's one of the things I love about mid-century dressers and tables and things. But this one had a little piece that went across the bottom between the legs, and it's just such a cute dresser. I actually bought this dresser from an online auction, so really all I saw was a couple pictures of it, and then was able to go and pick it up, and I was in love with it just as much when I saw it in person. So I'm going to give it kind of a little bit of a salt wash texture. I'm going to use baking soda. It's about a 50-50 mixture with 50% baking soda, 50% paint. I love this DecoArt Americana Deco chalk finish. This is the color Carbon, which is my favorite black to use if I'm making a chalkboard or if I want something to just have that chalkboard look. It covers so well. I love this paint. If you've seen other videos, then you've seen that I actually use this a lot. I mix it up just to whatever the texture I feel I need is. I do end up adding a little baking soda to make it a little bit thicker. But what I'm doing here is those places I said that I fixed the veneer, it still just seemed like it needed something. It wasn't going to have that full smooth finish. So I'm going to use my paint pixie round with the synthetic bristles, and I'm going to just kind of dab that paint on here everywhere around there just to kind of get that texture, and then we'll sand it down before we apply. So I'm not really painting it on here. I'm more just dabbing it on here in the places where I need it. So once I get all of my sanding done and get all my places smooth enough that I want to go ahead and put my color on, then I begin painting it with Debi's Design Diary DIY brand paint in the color Cherry Picked. This is a clay-based paint. It is very pigmented. I'm using the same brush that I used to apply the white because, again, it really holds that paint and lets you apply it on there with fewer strokes. I get it all on and then I go ahead and smooth it out. I covered the entire dresser in just really a matter of minutes. That first coat was amazing. Did all the drawers. I did paint the drawers outside of the dresser just to make sure that I got everything around the edges and was able to cover those spots where I had. Okay guys, so we are back to our cherry picked dresser. This is one coat. I wasn't too worried about 100% coverage because it was just the first coat. You can see where the white is coming through a little bit. That's okay. We're going to add our second coat to it today, and then we will begin sanding it down to show our places where we have our textured paint here. I'm going to do just a real light coat sand just to make sure it's real smooth before I put the second coat on. And for my second coat, I am actually going to use my zipper brush because I wanted these really smooth synthetic bristles rather than what I was using yesterday. What I used yesterday is awesome for getting a coat on there. It's really thick, holds a lot of paint, but I'm really hoping that with this one I can just kind of get a smooth texture on there. So let me get to sanding. I've got my paint in my little actually butter container. I save everything left over to be able to add paint and such to it. I don't like to dip back into my actual container with some of these big ones just because I don't want to have picked up any dirt or dust or anything and contaminate my container. So let me get my sanding and let's get started. I'm just going to hand sand it. I'm using a 220 grit that goes, just one of these for my orbital sander over an old sanding block. And that's what I'm going to use to just kind of do this. Again, I'm just hoping to get a little smooth coverage before I start adding that second coat. I don't want to actually take any of the paint down or take it off. One of the things I don't think I show at all on here, but I want to say that I do, and that is I take my air compressor and my blower and I blow off all the sanding dust to get a clean surface. So you can see that it is actually kind of going down to the white in some places. That's okay because at the end of the day, we're going to completely distress it down anyway, so some of that white will come through. You can see my glasses fogging up with my mask. But anyway, so I'm going to get this cleaned off and start painting. Okay, so I ran out of paint with what I had brought out here. And normally I would water it down with my sprayer, but I didn't have it out here. So I did add a little bit of water to it, but I just wanted to show you how great, sorry, I didn't want to focus, how great the coverage is with this second coat. So I just used, you can see it's actually starting to dry in places. So it's looking a little splotchy, but that's just because it's drying. But you can see the difference. This is the one coat and how much darker it is. And again, it will lighten up once it dries. But I just thought that this was amazing how well it covered. This is light reflecting, it's not white, but that is all completed. See, there's where it's starting to dry, so you can kind of see the difference in the color. But it will, when I wax it, it'll bring that back out. But it completely covered with that second coat. So, all right, well, I'm gonna head on into the house and get some more because I still have the front to finish. It looks very purple here. It's a lot more burgundy color than it is. I think my husband said it should have been plum instead of cherry, so yeah, it kind of gives you an idea. But I still have to do the drawers. I've got drawers all over the place, so I still have to finish those drawers, and then we will begin the next steps. So it's all dry with two coats, and I am absolutely loving it. I'm going to go ahead and give it all a really good sanding, and then I'm going to put the drawers in it, and then we're going to try something totally different that'll be a first for me on something like this, and that is blending. So I'm going to go ahead and sand it, and then we're going to get started on that blending technique. Okay, so we're using my orbital sander, and then I'm just putting some 220 on there. I'm not trying to do anything but really just smooth it down, bring back a little bit of those undercolors. I'm gonna work a little bit where we have the wash mixture with the baking soda, and just try to go from there. If I need to do anything different, we can change grits, but we're gonna start with this 220. If you guys like these kind of videos, trash treasures, furniture flips, then make sure to click subscribe and the notification bell, and you'll be notified when I update and add more videos. So now I'm going to try some blending. I've got my Mister spray brush, as in Mister, not as in Mrs. and Mister. I've got some DIY white Swan. It's a little, I watered it down just a little bit, just to make it a little bit smoother. It was kind of down toward the end, and I don't think the lid got put on as tightly as it should have. So it was a little chunky, so I added some water. And then I have some of my cherry picked in case I need to add a little bit more around the edges if I get a little bit too white. So here we go. I'm gonna start down here on the bottom, and I'm gonna use my misting brush just to kind of get that a little bit wet. I'm just gonna start adding in that white, kind of blending it out. I wanna just use real light strokes. And I can always add a little bit more if I need to, kind of catch those drips. I don't want my water drips there. And I'm just gonna try to lighten it around in here in the middle of it. But I wanna get rid of too many of the brush strokes. So I'm gonna add some water here to soften up the edges. Catch my drips, don't want anything dripping. A little bit darker on this side, so we're gonna add some white back in. Can you see what I'm doing here? Again, we just want to keep it wet so that your paint will just move smoothly over there. And if it's too rough around the edges, and you need to add a little bit more of my cherry picked, I'm just going to kind of go here on the edge. Just real light touch. This with the drawers in so that I can kind of see the look that I'm doing, so that as I go through, if I was doing them all individually, it'd be kind of hard for me to tell how the pattern was looking, if it looked like they went together. So it's easier to put them all in there. The only place that you can see it does have this middle section here, and I'm going to probably leave that alone. You can see I've distressed everything back, so I don't want to lose my distressed look too much with my blending, but I want to be able to get all of my blending in there.
If I'm overthinking, I'm really trying, so I should stop it. So hard on myself, it's true. Pick apart the things I do. I've been in hiding, backsliding, keep rewinding, pulling the thread through the loop, trying to find the faith I knew. Always thought that it would just feel right. I've been looking out for signs. I'm scared that I'm running out of time, trying to tell myself I'm fine. I'm waiting
Hey, okay, oh my goodness. It was 75 yesterday. It is 45 today and not supposed to get any warmer. This time of year is so crazy how it's get a sunburn one day and the next day you practically could feel like you're skiing in the snow. Anyway, so we're out here in the shop. I'm going to put, this is what it looks like dry with our blending. I'm going to do just a very light hand sanding, and I'm going to, then I'm going to clear coat it with a polyacrylic clear matte. I need to put some kind of coat down so that my transfers will stick well. They don't tend to, at least for me, stick very well on the chalk paint if I don't seal it first. So that is the plan for this morning. So we're going to do that as soon as I have the courage to let go of my warm coffee cup. But cheers, and keep watching. I'm going to use a 320 grit. I want something really soft. Remember, the higher the number, the softer the actual sanding. So like a 40 or a 60 is really rough. You could do that to get rid of grooves, or if you were trying to strip off the stain or something within the wood. But again, a 320 is an extremely soft. I buy these huge packs for my 2 different sanders, and then I just use an old sanding block to make my little sander there. That way I'm not buying separate ones that I have to do just for hand sanding. I just use the ones that I would use on my sander. So here we go. I'm going to switch to a 220 and do the same thing, just my sanding block, and do it by hand. And I'm going to try to get just a little bit. I did it here. I don't know, you probably can't see it very well from up there, but I just want a little bit of that wood. I'm going to do a little bit of that distressing. So I'm just going to use 220. It's a, you know, it's a little bit rougher than, of course, the 300 grits that I use, but this one will help bring a little bit of that back without scratching my paint job here. So that's the goal that I'm doing with this one. So now I've got my polyacrylic. I poured it in a cup because I don't want to contaminate my entire court with any dust that might actually still come off of here, even though I did spray it with the air compressor, but I just want to make sure that there's not anything that could contaminate it. And I'm just going to use a foam brush to do it here for the drawers. Again, I'm putting it on the drawers because I have transfers I'm going to put on here, and I want to make sure that I have a good slick surface that the transfers can stick to. So here we go.
Don't know where we're gonna fly like you did sometimes. Seeing eyes of mine.
I think one of the reasons it took me so long to start doing videos and being able to share what I do where people could see the process is because I am so messy. I'm so sloppy. You know, I've said this before, but my method has always been just slap it on there and smooth it out later. So that's, you know, one of those things where a foam brush comes in very handy because you can just kind of push it around any direction you want to do. But yeah, I was just kind of laughing with my messiness. You'll probably never see a video of me doing anything in the kitchen because I kind of have the same method in the kitchen. My husband tells me I am the messiest chef there is, but I can manage to get things everywhere. And I cannot deny it. But When it comes to doing things like this, the good thing is that most of the time at the end result, you can't really tell how messy I was. But I just try to get it all on there. This is just a first coat. There's going to be multiple coats, especially when we're talking about the top, because this is going to be something that people are probably going to set stuff on. You know, they're going to be seeing the top all the time. It needs to be very durable. So it'll get multiple layers. I'll probably do 2 coats everywhere, and then we'll see how it does. I'll probably do 4 on the top. But now that I have it all on here, excuse me, I just kind of go through and make sure that everything is covered. If I get to a spot where it's kind of rough, you know, then I don't have much on there. I like to use foam brushes with the polyacrylic, or, you know, even a lot of my top coats, because it's just easier to throw them away. This isn't a real fancy one. This is, you know, like buy a thing of them from Harbor Freight for hardly anything. You just get a whole bunch of them, and then I don't feel bad throwing them away when I'm finished. I do have some really good ones that I wash out and use as often, you know, I mean, as many times as I can before they are completely, they just don't wash out the same. But as far as these ones from Harbor Freight, I just use them and then throw them away. That will smooth out all my sloppiness. And there you go. So this is what she looks like with 1 coat of the polyacrylic. And we're gonna let this dry really well. And then I'm gonna come and I'm gonna put on the transfers. And then we're gonna put some additional coats and make sure that everything is very secure, sturdy, gonna make our customer really happy. I've got the drawer pulls. Before I do all that though, I will take the drawers out and sand them and make sure that they are good and clean on the sides. And then so my phone was charging, but I was too excited and impatient to wait. So I did go ahead and start without you. But what I am doing is taking these transfers. These are from Redesign with Prima, and I am putting them on the drawer fronts. So I've gone ahead and I've put part of it. It was a big long one with sayings, and I'm cutting it apart so that it'll fit in between the drawers. One of them, or the rest of them, I think from here, will actually have lines over the drawers, so I'll have to cut very carefully so that we can have that and be able to open the drawers without slicing open the transfer. Anyway, let's get started. I'm going to use, so this is what I'm talking about here. The top of the drawer is right here. So you can see I'm right here at the top. But when I come down here, the bottom of the drawer goes over this leaf and into this middle section here. So it doesn't actually fit. I can raise it up just a hair, but I'm still going to run into the same problem. It's not really going to fit. So I'm going to try to center that in best as I can, and then kind of take a knife and split that there with a blade so that part of it will actually be on this middle section. Show you what I'm going to do and how I did the other one. And I just kind of got to where it was cutting, and I sliced it right along in between the drawers. And then when I rub it on, I just kind of rub it down in there, making sure that it sticks in between the drawers. But I am sitting in the light, so it's probably not helping much. But you can see it gets lighter. Can you tell here where it's real pale looking, and over here it's darker? This is where it's attached and come loose from the plastic, and this is where it's still pretty attached and I need to rub on it. So I just wanted to see if I could get you in there where you can see. Again, I'm kind of sitting in the way of the light, so it's hard to tell. Okay, I'd say from beginning to end, it probably took me about, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes to get the entire transfer on there. One of the things I love about the transfers and a lot of the different ones that are available are that they are a distressed look. So when it comes to using it on something like this, then it's really perfect because you're already, your distressed look is already there and it stays part of it. So just to finish out this dresser, I wanted to do something to the inside of the drawers. So I picked up this black and white floral contact paper from the Dollar Tree, and using the grid lines on the back, I cut each one to fit inside the drawers. It does not have extra sticky, so it's wonderful if you need to pick it up and adjust it and put it back in the drawer to get it straight, but it still has plenty of sticky to hold it down in there and finish out the look. So then I went ahead and sealed the entire dresser with Sweet Pickins top coat. I had originally decided to use wax, and then I decided I really wanted to just use a liquid top coat. So using my Zipper Prom Pro brush, I'm going to put 2 coats all the way around the dresser on the front and the sides, and then I'm going to put 3 coats on the top. It already has 1 coat of the polyacrylic, so it'll have 4 coats just for that extra durability. I'm going from side to side here because that's the same direction that I went with my blending, and I just thought that it would be better if I stuck with the same pattern in the same direction. Then I'm going to move on to the top, and you can see when I get to the top that you kind of get a little bit of a panic when you first see that it looks like it's going to make it white. It does actually dry in a wonderful kind of a matte sheen. It's not... it doesn't add anything shiny, so it doesn't make your chalk paint shiny, which is the very reason why you chose to use chalk paint anyway. But it does give that really durable finish that you need to seal all that paint in. So I just blob it on there, and then I will make long, even strokes to even out where any of my brush strokes might be. So I'll just kind of keep doing this until it has that smooth finish. Then going on and not forgetting the feet. You can see I missed a little bit of the sanding dust and kind of got some of the color in there. So that just strengthens my point of why I always pour things into a separate bowl and I don't use it in their original containers. So the next is I put these adorable little drawer pulls on there using the long bar pull. It's a wood pull on the top drawer because it has a little bit of a dent and groove in there. So these little flat ones wouldn't have worked. But I hope you like it as much as me. I really appreciate you watching, and make sure to